Shabad Nam, closing your eyes, relaxing your body. Gaviya, singing the praises of our beloved Paramatma, Vai, Guru. Suniya, listening, focusing in on the sound of your voice. As the thoughts come, letting go, coming back, and entering into the good mantra again and again. It does not matter how many thoughts arise, all that matters is how many times did you bring it back. Did you teach your mind to sit? Did you teach your body to sit? And from that ability to focus your dhyan, dona mehet dhyan, put that attention, that dhyan in the sound, the dun, dhyan mehet janya. It's through that ability to focus your attention, to focus your dhyan on the sound, dhyan mehet janya, that you get to know, you get to experience Vaheguru's presence. So all sitting intentionally in that ardas, Maharaji, may we feel your presence, may we connect to your naam, to your love, to your peace. And let us let go of the stories of the past, of the future, the anxieties of the future, and the judgments of the present, and be fully here right now, in that state of awe, in that state of praise of the beloved. Oh, Guru Kirpa. Vai Guru, 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 Guru, question, as I once did. Why do we need to do the Simran so loud? And the answer is quite simple. That our mind is trapped in its own thoughts. We now know through science we have the subconscious mind, where we spend 90 to 95% of our time stuck in habitual thinking, thoughts that we've thought before and are just on a repetitive loop in our mind. Those same thoughts we can attribute to the Panchjor, to Maya, to Gal, that keep us trapped in habits of thinking of the past, resentment, anger, that keep us trapped in conflict in the present and judgment of self and others, and those thoughts of fear of the future, the planning, the anxieties. So all of this is going on in our mind constantly. Science is now telling us that we have something like 60,000 thoughts a day or more. But we're not catching those thoughts, Sangatji. We're not even aware of most of those thoughts. We are not choosing most of those thoughts. And Gurbani tells us that most of that is coming from those Panchjor within this body. It's a daily under Panchjor Vasai, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankara. Amrit loote, man mukh nahi bujhe, koi na sune pukara. So what is happening, Maharaji tells us, that by default we have Amrit within our mind, within our body. That Amrit that keeps us connected to presence, to that presence of Paramatma, that light, that jyot in our mind, man, tu jyot sarup hai apna mool pachan. But there's much joy within our mind, within our body, by taking our attention away from the presence, the present moment, the presence of our Atma, the presence of Paramatma. They are stealing our joy, our happiness, our peace, our Amrit. And so, Guru Pyaryo, how does this relate to why we're chanting loud? So the first thing to acknowledge is chanting loud or fast is just a stage of Simran. Yesterday, I give an example. We were watching the football, as many people were. But we became so absorbed in the story of the match, the behavior of some of the players and the teams, the violence, the falsehood of some of the actions. We became absorbed in the joy and just the energy of goals being scored, red cards, yellow cards being given. And in those moments when we were completely absorbed in this match on a screen within our living room, we totally forgot who we were. We totally forgot Paramatma. We totally forgot that peace that is within us. Sometimes we became enraged by the way people were behaving. Sometimes we became jubilant at things that were happening. But we lost that sense of surge. We lost that sense of presence many a time. So what was happening there is we believed that we were in that match, that match was relevant to our lives somehow. Our emotions became entangled with what was happening on that screen thousands of miles away, which quite frankly had nothing to do with our lives. And in the same way, Guru Pyaryo, our mind is asleep within the stories within our mind day to day, within the relationships with our families, within our work, within our health. And we are constantly hearing this narrative in our mind of, you're not good enough because of this, he or she is bad because of that you need to do this and they need to do that, and why is that person doing that? And isn't it brilliant that we did this? And in those moments when we're not conscious, we're not aware of that presence of Paramatma, we get stuck in that cycle of dukh and sukh. And it's that very cycle of dukh and sukh Maharaj has told us to let go of. Dukh sukh doe tyage. Let go of that. Because as you seek for those external pleasures and that status, that external approval, naturally in this cycle of the 3D world, there will be times when you don't feel successful, when you don't feel approved of. And then you become a victim to other people, you become a victim to your external circumstance. Did I get the results? If I did, I feel good. But inevitably there's going to be times when you don't and you feel bad. Does that person like me, approve of me? If they do, we feel great, we're in sukh. And if they don't, we're in dukh. If we get to go somewhere, we get a job, we go on holiday, brilliant. But if we don't, or something unexpected happens, we feel bad. And sometimes what happens in our lives, Guru Mukhyaryo, is those difficult times start to outweigh the good times. Those markers of external success become harder to achieve. And we start to feel more and more sad, more and more anxious, more depressed, more angry. Because the world has said that success comes from this friendship, from this love, from our partners agreeing with us, our children listening to us, that bank account. And so Maharaj is telling us all of that, Guru Mukhyaryo, is a supana, is a dream, is a play, a jagat. And we are the actors in this game of life. That is not your true identity. Many of us believed yesterday that we should be the referee, that we should be that striker or that defender. But it was simply a game, an illusion that we fell into. The truth is that we are not this body, we are not just this life. Just like we put on new clothes every day and change them every day, multiple times a day, we are not those clothes. And this body is like those kapare that we change. We have been animals before. We were on the beach previous to watching that match, and we were looking out upon the vast ocean, the vast sky, standing on the pier. And we contemplated for a moment that we had been in those juna, in those lifetimes of those fish, that algae. We had been those seagulls. We have been even those beings that we can't even see with the naked eye. We have been those grains of sand. We have been trees. We have been mitti, the dirt, the snakes, the worms. And those have all been clothes that we have worn. But the question, Guru Mukhyaryo, is what remains beyond those clothes? As you sit here right now, wearing the clothes of this body, who has stayed with you from when you were a baby? This body has changed. This body goes through cycles of 90 days, of 7 days, where we have new skin, new hair, new blood, new bone. That body is not you because it has changed. Your thinking has changed from a baby to this point. Your emotions change moment by moment. So which part is you, Guru Pyaryo? Which part, when we say Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai Be Sach, Nanak Hosi Be Sach, that Sach is referring to that eternal nature, something that cannot be created or destroyed, that is beyond time, that is beyond birth and death. That is a description of your true nature. Such that infinity, that eternity. So who is it that is looking behind these eyes? That's not a question to be answered with words, but to be experienced. That one that is looking behind these eyes, that presence is beyond the pain and suffering of this world, beyond dukh, beyond sukh. That one behind these eyes is in eternal peace, sad, is in eternal bliss, anand, is in that state of pyar, of love. And so when we chant loudly Guru Pyaryo, we are trying to awaken our minds from the dream of thought, of story, of narrative in our mind. As we've shared previously, just like many of us yesterday were so engrossed in that screen, just as a child is engrossed, and even adults are engrossed in their phones, in the TV, and someone might be calling them, Pukardiya, we're calling their name, and they simply can't hear us because they're so engrossed in that story, in their phone, on the TV, on the screen. And sometimes we have to chant, we have to shout, we have to say their name louder. We have to say, Bod, come, I'm calling you. And suddenly, that illusion is broken. Their attention comes away from that screen, and they remember who they are. That they're not that character in the drama on the TV. They are not that person on social media. That they have a life that is not in that narrative. They awaken for a moment when they chant. They are called loudly. So as we chant Guru, why Guru, why Guru, those stories, those thoughts that are going around, swirling in our mind, we are giving ourselves an opportunity to awaken by chanting loudly from those stories. We've been trapped in those stories, not just for this lifetime, Guru Pyaryo, but for many, many janam. For many, many, बहुत जन्म विछड़े थे माधो, ये जन्म तुम्हारे लेखे. बहुत जन्म, many, many lifetimes we've been separated from the presence of our beloved, of our Madhu, of Vaheguru. And this time, Guru Pyaryo, we've been given a turn, a wari, an opportunity in Janam Tumhare Lekhe to dedicate this lifetime, this time, towards awakening, towards experiencing our true nature, that presence of Vaheguru, that joy within us, to become enlightened, to see Vaheguru's prakash, their darshan, their light, eyes open and closed, to hear that shabad, that anhad, naad, that voice of Vaheguru, eyes open, eyes closed, to feel that sahaj and nam, that deep-seated peace, that joy, that bliss that cannot be touched by external or internal events. That is the opportunity that Maharaji has gifted us. This is not about the prescriptions and the do's and the don'ts. This is not about what religion you appear to be on the outside, how much knowledge you have. Says Siyanapa lakh ho hai ta ik na challe na. Maharaj kehinde kya pariye, kya guniye, kya ved purana suniye, pare sune kya hoye, jo sahaj na mile soye. You can read the scripture, the Gurbani, the Bible, the Quran. You can listen to it. You can even pore over it and analyze it. But what is the point if you haven't experienced that sahaj, that deep-seated peace of the presence of Paramatma within yourself? Har ka naam na japas gavara, kya soche barang bara. Maharaj goes on to say, if you haven't chanted that name of Har, of Hari, of Vaheguru, of Gobind, of Allah, of Yahweh, if you haven't done that, kya soche barang bara, what are you doing? Just thinking. Where's thinking got you? Where have these thoughts brought you? Have they brought you peace, bliss? Have they brought you additional love, where you're not constantly seeking for that approval from your friends, from your family, but you are in the experience of Vaheguru's love within your own mind and heart, day in, day out? That is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji brought onto this planet. That is what Gurbani guides us towards, that experience. That is why we chant Vai Guru, Vai Guru. And this is just the first stage, to chant, to awaken the mind, to hear that sound of our voice. Put your attention, your awareness, your dhyan in that sound, in that dhun. Why the sound? Because the sound has no form. If we focus on the body, we are still attached to the story, to the 3D, to Maya. But the sound has no form. So we train our mind to attach to the sound. As we progress, as our thoughts lessen, as we go beyond this body, we start to hear that internal sound from the mukh, the beautiful mouth of Paramatma. Those celestial sounds, that celestial music. Panch Shabad Karasapage, Karasapage, Sabadavaje, that we read, that we recite, that we sing about these Panch Shabad, Anhad Gunad. But we were not meant to just read or sing about them, we were meant to experience that sound, that voice of Paramatma that calls us home in every breath. And as we chant loud, as our mind awakens, and then we settle in that state of dhyan, of awareness, of presence, we start to hear that internal sound of Vaheguru. As we hear that sound of Vaheguru, Vaheguru themselves pulls our awareness beyond this body into our true home, our Nijgar. Nijgar mel, pavav sukh sahaj, bohara na hoego fera. As this mind is pulled into its sukham home, into its subtle, invisible home, in the space, that Nijgar Mahal, that palace of the mind, that true home, as we go into that state of sun, beyond thought, beyond body. Nijgar Mahal Pavo Sukha Sahaja, we experience that eternal sukh, that eternal peace and bliss. Bohara na hoego fera. Then we are not subject to this coming and going, the dukh, the sukh, the lifetimes upon lifetimes of pain and suffering, pleasure cycles. let's take this understanding and let's apply it. As we access our true home, as we go into Sun Samadhi, we come back with more presence. We come back with less habitual unconsciousness. We come back more awake. We start to see our family members in a different light. We start to see ourselves in a different light. And as we experience life, we experience it as it is, as it's meant to be, not with this narrative in our mind, this judgment constantly, this fear, this hatred and resentment constantly, but from a place of purity. We experience it from an even level of bliss and peace, not from the highs and the lows and the lows and the highs of our emotions. And so as we in this country are moving into the holidays, this is more important than ever. The biggest gift you can give your family is not the holiday, the car. The biggest gift that you can give anybody, whether it's your parents, your children, your pets, the world, your work, is the gift of presence. Because as you become present, your Atma, your Jyot becomes Balagat, becomes manifest. And when you look through these eyes, you look through the eyes of divinity of Vaheguru. As you look at your family members, your eyes are no longer filled with judgment, with hate, with expectation, but with pure love, pure presence. As you open your mouth in that state, only mithir bol, sweet, sweet speech will come through this mouth. Because our beloved Mitha Bolaraji only speaks with that sweet speech. Kade bina kola, never do they speak harshly. And why is your speech sweet? Because now your thoughts are sweet, because they come from such, they come from eternal truth, divinity, Vaheguru. And your actions, they become compassionate. They become courageous, nirbhau, nirvay. And of course, we fall day in, day out. We fall, but we get back up and we become conscious again and again and again. We awaken again and again and again. Through that practice of Simran, Simar Guru Apana, Soya Man, Jagai. So let's awaken this mind. Let's practice going beyond the illusion of the story and coming into that state of Paramatma's Huzuri, their presence. Our eyes closed. Relax your body. Do an arada, set an intention that no matter what comes into my mind, what story, what thought, it does not belong to me, it belongs to the Banj, to Maya. My only job as I do this Simran is not to judge that, but to come back to the tone, to the sound, again and again. And so your mission, should you wish to accept it, as we do this Simran, is can you hear the sound of your own voice? And I mean truly, can you hear the sound of your own voice? We will all be chanting, we'll be chanting loudly, but can you hear your voice? And as you start to hear the sound of your own voice, your mind will tune in more than it's ever tuned in before. It will come closer and closer. Your awareness will tune in and you will become closer to hearing that Shabad inside of you. to hearing Vaheguru's voice. So bow, sit comfortably, Sravani Suniya, listening with your ears, Rasana Gaiye, chanting, singing with your tongue, Hirde Dhyaye Soy, keeping the beloved Paramatma in your heart and mind. Oi Guru, 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 Guru, Oi 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 Guru, listen to your own voice. What Guru, 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 what chanting, listening internally. Notice the difference in your state of mind. Good man ka seperti lava. When beat, that mind that became bloated like an elephant in the stories, in the Fudne, the Vichar. And now we're checking, has this mind become more present, more settled? And as we continue with that same awareness, that same dhyan, Shabad Guru, Surat Dona Jilla, that Shabad becomes our Guru, our Master, our Teacher, and our Surti, our awareness, becomes the servant of that sound. So as we continue really listening to the beginning, listen to the space in between, Guru, really listen, Suniya, with full attention. Shabad Guru, that Shabad, that sound is your Guru. Surat Dona Jilla, and your awareness becomes the servant of that sound. As we practice this with the chanting, when we start to hear that internal Shabad, we will be able to serve that Shabad with our mind through listening as well. So our full awareness, relax your body completely. Relaxed body, awakened mind. Karo Kirpa. Guru. Listen. Guru. Listen. Guru. Notice the spaces in between. Notice the breath. Notice the sound. Relax into the natural rhythm of the breath, coming in, coming out. Keep your attention internal. Chanting internally now, as the breath naturally comes in, chant Vai in your mind. Listen. As the breath goes out, chant Guru in your mind and listen. Relax completely. Notice how the mind wants to chant. It wants to listen. You start to have any other thoughts, come back to the good mantra, chanting with your breath, and then come back to chanting in your mind. Antaragat, Antaragat, Dhirat, Malanam. As we chant internally, the mind becomes cleansed. Slowly, slowly bringing your attention to a single point in front of your eyes. Imagine that there is a dot, an invisible dot that you are looking at with your eyes closed and just listening. Zero Kyo, all the goodness rises, and anything we don't need is sifted away as that metal entangled with gold is heated. The impurities are sifted away and pure gold is left. In the same way as we chant the Nam, the Guru Mantra, the impurities are sifted away of the mind, and what remains is that pure presence. So I'm chanting again inside. One Guru, Chant and listen internally. Keep your eyes still. Keep your attention on listening to the Guru Mantra in your mind. Bringing your attention ekman ekachit to a single pointed awareness, to that space in front of your eyes, and just listen. No chanting. Allow the body to relax. Allow the body to sit and listen. The mind to sit and listen. As we practice coming into the state of surge, when we practice with our eyes closed, we can use this practice also with our eyes open, coming away from the thought. Coming into your internal home. We practice this mind, this mana bacha, going back to its home as we are alive. And that when the Antavela comes, this mind will know the way home to its true home in the last breath. And will not have to come back again and again in this cycle of pain and pleasure. But will continue to be in that state of eternal peace, of bliss, in that union, that milab with Prabhu, the divine. And as we practice this practice of Simran with our eyes open and closed, we bring that divinity, that light, that peace into our daily lives, into our bodies so they may heal, into our minds so they become purified and connected. We bring that same connection, that same presence into our families, our relationships, into our workplace. workplaces and communities. And this is how the Khalsa does a Raj. Raj Karega Khalsa. The Khalsa are the pure. The Khalsa are those connected in the Hazuri of Vaheguru. And as they conquer their own minds, Manajita, they conquer the world, Jagajit. And this is how from Kalajuga we return from the dark ages back to Satyajug, the age of eternal truth, of connection, of oneness. So any abhidya parvanaganya, please forgive any mistakes. And as always, as complete with this Aradas, when we do Aradas, Aradas is heard by Paramatma at all times. However, when we are in this state of presence, the Aradas is accepted fully. So from this state of sand, let's all ask for that one thing that will bring us that eternal peace. Deho Sajan Asisariya Johove Sahil. Bless us with that ultimate union with the Beloved. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sadhguru Pyareo, as we gently begin to open our eyes, remembering that Simran is not just something that we do with our eyes closed. Take this inner presence, this inner state of being into your life, into your families, into your work. Return back to this experience breath by breath. Do not let this mind go unconscious. Do not let this mind fall into the stories. And even when that happens, when you fall, as we all do, just get back up again. Come back to the Guru Mantra. Come back to the presence. Let go of the false story, of the illusion. And in this way, we teach our generations to come. We teach even our older generations that no matter what has happened, no matter what is happening, no matter what is going to happen, no matter the crisis, the conflict, that peace can be obtained from inside. Our job is not to convert, to convince, but simply to become that for ourselves and lead by example, lead by modeling, and allow them to mirror and connect to that same source that is within them too. Vaheguru Ji Ka